And we come to you to tell you that these crimes are taking place right now. It's interesting that this is the 120th year anniversary of a really, well, in our country, rather famous black woman, Ida B. Wells. And Ida B. Wells was a 19th century feminist, radical journalist, anti-lynching crusader, and lynching is murder by the Ku Klux Klan and other white supremacist organizations that took place in that period. She came to England. She came and she spoke about the kinds of crimes that was being perpetrated then, the terroristic crimes that were being perpetrated then. And she went all over the UK. And she talked about how the American government was allowing this and doing this. Now, they allowed white supremacists like the Ku Klux Klan to do it. And they killed thousands of people. The year before, the few years, let's see, I think it was a 10-year period, 1883 to 1893, when she came. There had been 1,000 people killed. The year before she came, there had been 241 alone killed in the area where she was at, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Arkansas. So these crimes we're talking about have happened historically against black people. They are not incredulous at all. You know, like somebody said, well, if it's happened before, it sure as hell can happen again. So we're talking about a new phase of it, but we're talking similarly to you about the kind of oppression, the kind of genocide and mass murder taking place, and the kind of state concentration camps. Effectively, that's what the hell they are. Concentration camps. Whether it's whether you want to call them special handling units, or you want to call them control units, behavior modification, whatever, inside the prisons. All of this is related. They're brainwashing people, they're driving people to suicide, they're doing all of these things right now, and they have been going on for quite some time. And in many respects, we're late to the game of organizing the international base of support, but it has to be done. And so this is why we're here today. This is why we're on this tour. We've been to cities all over the UK, even started up in Scotland, in Glasgow, and people still make a difference in this period. If you say no, if you oppose what the government does, you can still stop things. You know, this is what we learned in the 1960s. White supremacy, the running of the state, segregation, and all of these things. All this was protected by force of law. And still it was defeated by the youth. Yeah. It was defeated. That's what you got to understand. It was a victory. It was a victory. It was destroyed. And there's no doubt in this period right now, we can defeat and destroy mass imprisonment, white supremacy, and paramilitary policing. We can do this right now. And so what we say to you is that we have an organization we're creating, and we name it after Ida B. Wells. We call it the Ida B. Wells Coalition Against Racism and Police Brutality. And we are asking people to join with us to put pressure on the American government, to bring an end to these abuses, to bring an end to this kind of racist system of mass imprisonment where people are locked up for the rest of their lives at 14 and 15 and 16 years old. To bring an end to the death penalty and all these other crimes being done by the state itself, but yet let the police commit any murder they want to commit. And thousands are killed and have been killed over the years, 10,000 this decade, well, over the last decade. And so we're talking about bringing an end to some abuses that nowhere else in the world you can do. There's no prison system, there's no dictatorship, there's no other country in the world that has as many prisoners as the United States has, singularly. And so if you understand that, you can see the urgency of it. It has to, well, we were doing it in our lifetime, well, we're fighting it, but it has to be done by a new generation of activists. And so we're creating this Ida B. Wells Coalition against Racism and Police Brutality, and we're asking people to join it so we can build a new kind of radical mass movement, a new kind of radicalized mass movement to oppose this and to stop these crimes that are taking place by the state, by the government. In that respect, we appreciate every one of you coming out to hear what we had to say. And I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to thank you very much. I'm going to ask you once again, my sister, my wife, and my comrade who was in the Black Panther Party. I didn't even know her when she was in the Black Panther Party. But I had seen her writings, and I said, wow, this is a very tough sister here. She takes a hard line. She takes a hard line. She doesn't mess around. She lays it right on the line. And she didn't have any, she didn't come up here with a bunch of notes and so forth. We just wrote some stuff down in the last, few minutes, and she just gave it to you out of her head and out of her experience. And between the two of us, I don't know if it's a good thing to say or a bad thing to say, but between the two of us, we have almost 100 years of experience. I've been an activist since I was 10 years old, 10, 12 years old. Since I've been an activist from early days in the Black Panther Party. Was the editor of the Black Panther, last editor of the Black Panther newspaper. Was the founder of the Black Panther reunion movement, which, by the way, I don't go to reunions, but that's all right, that's another thing altogether. But she founded the reunions, her and a small group of other ex-Black Panthers. So we're trying to keep certain ideas alive today, because without live ideas, if you let ideas die, then you die. But you understand this. You cannot allow the government to ever let you forget that the Black Power movement is why you have whatever rights you got now. Whether it's in the UK or wherever the hell it is, you have got whatever rights you get because of movements that challenge those in power, that challenge the business class, that challenge the government, that challenge racist whites, that challenge all kinds of things, whatever it was necessary to get whatever demands the people had for human and civil rights. So this is why we're here. And we thank you so very much for inviting us to the other side of the world to talk about this. And we thank you for your rapt attention and your understanding. We are extremely jacked up over this. I'm jacked up anyway, all the time.
We are anti-racist. We believe that Black people, as all people, should have independence and autonomy to decide their own affairs. So we think that until this happens, until we begin to stop relying on politicians to do things for themselves, we're not going to make the kind of progress that we should make. In the Black Panther Party, we used to say, all power to the people. All power to the people. And that meant everyday people. We have the power to change our conditions, not the what used to be called the charismatic leader. Leaders are human beings like anything, like anybody else, and anything can happen to them, because they're not invincible. Meanwhile, the movement has to keep on continuing, so you can't just focus in on an individual person. Our organization does not believe, nor did the Black Panther Party for that matter, believe that in the idea of a separate state, for Black people in the United States. That was proposed, in fact, by a particular wing of the Black Power movement, that the Black people split off from the United States into a nation that would be composed of 5 states. And the reality of it is that, that idea never caught on, because most Black people were not interested in that. It was not something that was relevant to them. They were interested in getting justice within the borders of the United States, a country that Black people helped to build. So we're not in favor of separatism, racial separatism in that way. The Ida B. Wells Coalition that we have, we are asking people of all races and nationalities who want to fight racism and police brutality. That is a multiracial organization.
Of ideology that's not based on material conditions. Black Panther Party had a class analysis so that it knew how the system was created. And it knew, in terms of racism, how the system is maintained today. And so our thing is that although we understand we have a black movement, we work in the black community primarily as far as black autonomy, we also have a broad-based movement. We're also building a movement for international solidarity that we're calling it the Ida B. Wells Coalition Against Racism and Police Brutality. This is based on the National Committee to Combat Fascism that the Black Panther Party built in 1968. So our perspective is not based on religion. We respect anyone's right to religion. We are opposed to the United States government trying to crush Muslims and deprive them of their human and civil and political rights in the United States, especially in this period. This is a very dangerous period for Muslims. But we also understand that we are not fighting for anybody's religion. That is not our goal. And so therefore we cannot join. We can join in united fronts with anyone, but we cannot join behind someone, following someone blindly because of a religious belief or that they're a so-called leader in the movement. We should follow blindly behind. We're not asking anyone here to follow blindly behind us, in fact, because we are up here speaking tonight. That is not what we are out to do. We are out to give you some history about the black movement in the United States, but we're also out here. We are also here so that you can understand that you can also build with us in terms of the mass movement. The government of the United States will never meet our demands alone. We will never get our freedom under this government, even with a so-called black president. Many people, even so-called radicals or whatever, are satisfied with the idea that a black president being in office is going to deliver us our freedom. We don't believe that whatsoever. He's an enemy, just like the white man is. The white president or whomever these capitalists appoint to be their spokesperson at any particular period. We're not fooled by that. Blackface in a high place. We're not fooled by that at all. A pit over the ground that we some Bantu stand somewhere that's being called a black nation state. Let me ask you this question, and all of you are students and presumably intelligent people. Some of you may be economists. If we agree that the United States is an imperialist regime that controls all the countries of the world, if we agree with this, then how is it that so many continue to labor under the false illusion that if they create a nation state, it will somehow be independent and resistant to the finance capital of imperialism, whether by the United States or the other Western powers? All we see is all the countries in Africa beholden to an imperialist regime in Britain or in the EU or in America. This is all we see. So we have to use logical persuasion and thinking on this question. You know what I'm saying? So we don't think a nation state alone is the answer. We don't even believe that black people in the main accept it. They have not in any way voted for and said that they want a black nation state. And they could do that. And they got a black president and they found out he's a fraud. He's a fraud. There's nothing we can do with him as far as him being a brother. He's a brother. He's not a brother. He is a political pig that the government has put up to rule over us. And let's be clear about it. We are not fooled by some black face in a high place.
Yeah.
You two, to what extent do you think it's accurate to claim that the non-violent struggle of the 1960s and the Black Civil Rights Movement turned into an ineffective violent struggle? I just want to reaffirm I don't agree with that, but I just wanted to hear about your opinions on that in particular.
The enemy, the class above you that holds you under a dictatorship, are going to be able to continue to hold you. And you should use whatever means are necessary